Hello guys, welcome you all to SUNYA IAS. So today we are going to discuss the ethics case studies. And recently, yesterday the paper has happened for paper 4. Prima facie, the first impression of the paper was it was more of a traditional paper. But it was more dependent upon what are the traditional values, basics of ethics what you are learning, and also the case study part, again the case study part was more of application based. So today in the very first class of ethics case studies, I will not just tell you that how to write, how to structure the case studies, and what are the different pointers, what are the different ethical principles that you can use in writing the case studies. But I will tell you the method, the approach first. It is very important, it is very pertinent for the students to understand what kind of approach is required for the case studies. So first we will start with, without wasting any time, without wasting further ado, let's start. I want the class to be more participative. You need to participate so that you can ask your questions also, you can ask your doubts also, as well as you can understand the concepts better by giving the answers which I am asking you. Okay. First thing is, why case studies? Have you ever thought about it? Why case studies? Why UPSC is asking case studies? They could have directly asked the part A, they could have elaborated the part A of the paper, the theory paper. So here you have to understand, students, very precisely you have to understand what for ethics case studies are being asked. Okay. In the part A of the paper, in the ethics, we explain the theories, we explain different kinds of theories, we give different kinds of personal examples. Our own perspective is reflected into the part A basically. But here into the part B of the paper, that is case studies, you need to understand they want you to have a situational awareness. Situational awareness. See, part A is without a situation, without a circumstance. They have asked you, what do you mean by happiness? What do you mean by crisis of conscience? In whatever situation you can explain that by giving any example which is suitable for you. You get my point? But after understanding these things, after developing your own attitude, your aptitude, your probity, your honesty, your hierarchy of values, then UPSC wants to test you into a different parameter, that is situation based awareness. Situation based awareness. What they are observing in that situation, that how much aware you are about different parameters, different stakeholders, different values involved, different dilemmas involved, how deep you can think about it. Understand, simultaneously they want also you to understand that what parameters you will be ignoring. There are certain things that you need to ignore while taking up a decision. There will always be a choice. There will always be a dilemma. Sometimes conflicting values would be there. Therefore, you have to first recognize those values. Then you have to ignore a particular thing and you have to understand its merits and demerits. Then move on to the other. Based on what you have taken the decision, this kind of situational awareness is required. So in the beginning of case studies, generally students write facts of the case. Okay, values at the stake, or stakeholders, or a context is given, just to signify that you are aware with the situation. I will explain this is not that simple also, because I understand that these students are going to write their mains examination in 2024. Some of you might be very fresher towards the case studies, and case studies are a better method to reflect your preparation for part A as well. Part A is very much related to part B, because finally UPSC wants you to evaluate certain situations and come to a particular decision making, which they ask directly that what will be your course of action. Therefore, You have to build your perspectives with different situations. Any kind of incidents that is happening, whether G20 is happening or Manipur crisis is happening, these are different circumstances. You could be at a very good position, and that position would be having certain kind of dilemmas, certain kinds of issues. How will you be resolving those issues? That becomes a case study. Okay, here you are just saying that I am honest. You are saying that I am honest, I am upright, I am courageous, I am full of integrity, I will obey the probity in governance. These, towards different value system, you are reflecting your thoughts, saying, but how will I believe you? How would I believe you? UPSC also had that thing in mind. Therefore, they want to show. They want you to show your public service spirit. Show your integrity. Now take these words very seriously, saying and showing. Some things you need to say in the part A, and in the part B, sometimes students write in the part B that I will uphold the spirit of public service and therefore I will do this. No, no, no. Sir, ma'am, this kind of answers will not be marked enough in the examination. Please try to understand. On the basis of compassion, you are writing just one value, that on the basis of particular compassion, I will take that action. No, you won't be marked for that at all. Here you have to actually showcase this spirit. You don't need to write. You don't need to write that because of public service, spirit or sympathy or empathy, I'll be taking that action. But you have to showcase. Your course of action should be reflective of that value. I'm explaining this because while writing the case studies, while discussing many case studies, we will come to that conclusion, how we have shown that spirit, how we have shown that extra mileage in delivering the public services at the grassroots level. This thing is expected from you here. First thing is crucial awareness about the situation. Second thing is about showing. Third thing is application. What happens that for the part A, we have collected enormous amount of examples, okay? Enormous amount of examples. But for part B, when part B comes, it seems more like to many of the students as a comprehension, that you have comprehended a particular thing and then you just start writing, okay, these are the ethical issues involved, this could be my course of action, this could be merits, this could be demerits. My dear students, you have to apply the different values, different ethical principles that you have studied in the part A. Its application is there in the part B. So whenever you are writing the particular case study, you must understand that it is basically an application of those values. How you are capable enough to apply those values. Understanding my point? At one front, we have learned certain values, we have learned the definition and one example to substantiate the particular value system. Or how will you reduce the menace of corruption? For example, the chapter you have read well. You can give different examples from Kautilya's Arthashastra to present modern day governance infrastructure. You can talk about Sivottam model also in the part A. But in a particular given situation, you might be superintendent of police or you might be district collector into a given situation. Then in that situation, are you able to uphold those values into those actions? This part is purely an application of those values which you have learnt over there. Okay. Then situation based awareness, this is extremely important. I am again saying. Then part B is about addressing certain problems. Understand my point. A case study is not a straight line to walk with. It's not just a straight line. It's not a straight line of thought process that you will develop. There must be certain complexities. For any student who is not able to find those complexities, find those nuanced complexities into the case studies, your ability, okay, that is called as ethical reasoning, moral reasoning that you will be able to do. Find the complexity and ability to resolve those complexities. Basically, I will give you a word which you are aware about, is called as policy paralysis. Understand, whenever a case study is given to you, it is presenting more than one problem to you, and how you are able to recognize that particular problem. Then after recognize as many problems as you can. Throughout the class, we'll be taking those case studies, we'll be discussing the case studies in the class itself. I'll ask you to write some things, then we will discuss it out loud. But understand the objective of case studies. Give me a thumbs up if everyone understood it. Good. So objective should be very clear. Objective should be very clear why case studies are being asked in the examination. Okay. Now let's move ahead to the approach part. The next pertinent question in our mind is how we should be approaching the case studies. We all know that application, it seems very easy for us. How do you approach case study? Understand that it does not need to be ideal. Generally in part A, we read about ideal, values, ideal values. All the values are ideals. Honesty, perfect honesty is an ideal. Nobody on the earth can achieve it. Okay. Perfect integrity is an ideal. Perfect justice is an ideal. All the values are ideals. Difficult for human being, common man to achieve them. Even for the bureaucrats, top-notch bureaucrats, even for the judges itself, it is difficult to achieve those values. Therefore, our approach while writing the case studies should be very practical. Point number one that you should keep in your mind is practicality, pragmatism, practical and rational. Practical and rational. Let me tell you an example. There was Rajaswa Gyan Sangam. Our Prime Minister was giving a speech on the Rajaswa Gyan Sangam, and he talked about Chalta hai attitude. He talked about Chalta hai attitude is there in the bureaucracy. And because of that Chalta hai attitude, most of the files are lying idle on the table. No action is being taken upon them. Then what we should be doing? And after that course of action, lot of things were there. And into that question, one aspect was that, have you ever suffered from Chalta hai attitude? Have you ever suffered from Chalta hai attitude? I do understand that while reading subject ethics, we feel that we want to be very perfect into that domain. We want to abide by all the values enshrined over there. But you also have to understand that to err is human being. You might be doing certain mistakes. Your ability to recognize those mistakes, understand what I'm telling here, pragmatism and rationality. Your ability to recognize those mistakes will make you a bureaucrat. Understand. One student wrote an answer into the class that I have never suffered from Chalta hai attitude. I'm a very disciplined and a perfectly ethical person fit for the bureaucracy. Will he be able to get marks? Just a minute. Okay. So, pragmatism and rationality, I just gave you an example of it. To be perfect, problem is that if you will reflect, what is the problem in reflecting that, yes, I am a perfect personality, I'm very ethical person. What is the problem in it? UPSC doesn't want these kind of candidates who are too perfect, because our society has corruption. Rape cases are happening into our society. How can you be so perfect then? It means you are just writing a fake answer. Moreover, it might be that you are so perfect. Do you understand that? It might be you were living in such an environment, in you might be a person who is a part of the society or community that has made you perfect. But sir, ma'am, today you will become a part of bureaucracy which is reeling under corruption. If you have not seen the problem till present times, how will you be very practical and rational in taking those problems, in addressing those issues? You're getting my point. Therefore, practicality and rationality will always be rewarded in the examination. For that matter, you could have written that yes, I do have suffered from chalta hai attitude, but one thing is about recognizing the problem. You have recognized the problem. Right recognition of problem, you will be rewarded. Then simultaneously, your attitude should be developed in such a manner that you are solution oriented. You just did not recognize the problem, but you thought about resolving that problem also. Solution oriented approach that should be inbuilt in you. Okay. And for that, what you will be doing, you will be saying that, for example, I might be suffering from chalta attitude because of overweight. Therefore, I have decided that for a week, I will not be eating any junk food. Because of chalta hai attitude, I had been eating junk food. And for this week, I have decided I won't be having junk food. Only on the Sundays, I can have a cheat day. Understand? Here also, nuanced points are there. Here also. Some students, those who have recognized the issues, after that, they are moving towards solution orientation also. But they are trying to be very perfect. Some students might say that from tomorrow onwards, no junk food at all. This is also an extremist approach. This is also not practical. This is also not rational. You're getting my point? You have to be regulative in your approach. Getting this point? This is called practicality and rationality in writing the case studies. You have to be practical in your approach. Getting the point? So next point in your approach should be clarity of expression. Clarity of expression. Sometimes we write something that we understand only, but examiner is not able to understand. In the ethics case studies, this is also happening with many of the students, that they are writing something which they only understand, but the examiner is not able to appreciate or understand. This creates a difficulty. For example, try to understand, if we are talking about morality, how morality has evolved into a progressive society. That should be reflected in your case study intuitively. You are not writing in what you are writing in the theory part, it should be reflected as a clarity of expression here itself. Then third point is governance values. Governance values. What are these governance values? Here I will give you an example. For example, optimum utilization of resources is mentioned as a part of syllabus in GS2. Optimum utilization of resources. Optimum utilization of resources. While giving certain solutions, students sometimes get out of the way and give the best possible solution. That is also not wrong. But then again, you have to understand what are the resources available to you. Within those resources itself, these are the limitations. Within those limitations, you have to get the particular work done. You have to resolve the particular case. Therefore, optimum utilization of resource is extremely important governance value. That your approach should be built on these values. Okay. Another example is, whenever we are writing something, whenever we are solving problem, we will look into the case studies of criminal justice system, how it is working, what are the ethical issues involved into it, how we are ensuring the dignity, even of the criminal, we want to ensure the dignity. We are based on the liberal principles. So here you have to understand different kinds of internal audits. Manrega, we are studying audits, manrega, we are studying different kinds of internal audits, we are promoting even into corporate governance, internal audit should be there, third party internal audit should be there. So whenever you are giving any solution, these things should be reflected in your answers, this should be reflected in your approach. Another thing is promoting public interest. Promoting public interest. How will you promote that public interest? We will look into the different ethical principles as well. The principle of utilitarianism, maximum good for maximum people, into the governance, how it is promoted. One thing, and the most important thing in your approach should be terminologies. I will ask that all the students should prepare a list of different kinds of terminologies. Different kinds of terminologies, that particular list should be prepared. For example, if I ask you, tell me the answer in the comment box. Okay, I want everyone of you to answer in the comment box. If I ask you a very simple question, that after you get selected and you become a bureaucrat, will you do corruption? What will be your answer? What will be your answer? Rachita Patel, yes, yes, you will do corruption. Rohan, depending on the situation. Shivani, situational. I will try to avoid as much as possible. Bhavesh. What about others? No, no, no. Okay. Chandra, no. Kiran, I'll be honest, only bigger ones. I will work in public interest, limited corruption. Limited corruption. New words I am finding myself. Limited corruption. Some students have said that limited corruption, and I will try to avoid as take it and give it to charity. See, I'm happy that you people are giving the answers. Understand that. One thing you understand. Wrong means wrong. You cannot commit it. You should have a right justification. You have to work in your self-interest. I will take you down there also, take you down that lane also, that human being by nature is selfish. It is in yours. Then after telling that, we will justify that it is in your own selfish interest to be honest. By doing corruption, you are not following the principle of being selfishness for that individual also. You understand that? Now understand, if I ask, first of all, those who are telling that yes, I will do outrightly, they need to change their attitude. First of all, they need to learn the part A theory also. Now, those who are saying that no, I will not do corruption, why you will not do corruption? Problem is that how you are going to write these case studies. Understanding is one aspect, and ability to decode and write is another aspect. Why you will not do corruption? Give me the answers. Any answer? Priyanka, Arun, Shakti, Ansh. Okay, Abhishek might get suspended later. I'm giving you this example, try to understand. You will not do corruption. See, there are few things that in the resolving ethical dilemmas, we will look into different values also. Corruption is an offense. Self-guilt. Okay. Slippery slope. See, you cannot do corruption because laws are against it. Very true. But if laws would not have been that stringent and you find a loophole, then will you be doing the corruption? Next question is this. And then you will say yes. Then again you are in a trap. So understand, if you why you are not going to do corruption. The correct answer should be that because it will lead me to the crisis of conscience later on. Crisis of conscience. Crisis of conscience. Internal moral crisis will happen to me. crisis of conscience, these kind of words you need to collect. Understand that just like GS 1, 2 and 3. For example, for the economic development, we have this word circular economy. That reflects much of the meaning without writing many sentences. Similarly, crisis of conscience is one such word. For writing ethics paper, try to understand that you have to prepare your vocabulary for that. Or it can, I will not do corruption because it may lead to cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. You're getting this point? Crisis of conscience, cognitive dissonance, these kind of terms you need to prepare. These are your vocabulary for the expression, clarity of expression. This will bring clarity of expression while writing the ethics case studies. Got this point? So this was for what should be our approach into it. Now tell me another question, one question to you. We have different values. We have different values: integrity, probity, honesty. Okay, different values. Courage is a value. Bravery is a value. Which is the value that you value the most? In the comment box, tell me which is the value that you value the most. Okay, Vishal, integrity. Bhavesh, courage, compassion, integrity, honesty, never lying, high integrity, empathy and integrity, justice, very good, empathy. Now students, understand one thing, apart from what we were discussing, types we will be discussing. Now there should be like rational and practical, as I told you. Here these terms are, I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it. I want to mean these words. What is the value that you value the most? Nolan committee has given certain recommendations that these are the foundational values of a civil servant. But there should be certain novelty what you are bringing to the table. Okay, commitment, empathy, these all are good. For example, punctuality could be that value. Punctuality. We in India are suffering gravely from the lack of punctuality. If you will write this, you will get extra marks. You are getting the point. You will get extra marks. Most of the students will be writing integrity, justice, honesty, compassion. Now, punctuality is the value. And this punctuality, why I am telling you here, because this punctuality should be reflected in your case studies. While you are resolving a case, you should say that timely it should be completed. Timely it should be completed. Most of the government, you can write that in the part A itself also, that most of the government projects, if I am punctual, I will ensure that most of the government projects will be completed on time. In India, this problem is a structural value system problem in the overall working culture, whether it be corporate working culture or the government jobs. So these kind of values are practical and rational that you are going to value, and that will bring certain change. Understand what my point is. Ideals, all the values are ideals. They are best in their places. Now, while answering a question, you should get to that value which can be actionable, because solving case study is an actionable step that you are going to take certain action. Therefore, which is the value that you can execute the best on the ground? That is punctuality. Honesty, difficult to judge. Integrity, very difficult to judge. You are getting the point. But punctuality, it is going to give you the maximum result. Getting this point? Okay. Now, different types of case studies. For different types of case studies, you should understand that it can be classified either as international relations, okay, international relations related case studies, corporate ethics, There had been a question in, for the terminologies part, what you can do is, you can list out different kinds of terms already been asked by UPSC in the part A of ethics paper. You can list them. and also collect something from that is upcoming into the news from the GS 1 to 3, whatever you are studying. Develop a prism to view the current affairs material and collect certain novel examples also. That should be the part of your approach. Already examiner has been bored by looking into the Gandhian principles. Most of the students are writing Gandhiji's Talisman, Seven Sins of Gandhiji, or Vivekanand or Tagore. Bring something new to the table. For example, information technology, digital media ethics rules are there. Now talk about the digital world, how the ethics is being regulated into the digital world. These kind of examples will be appreciated. This is called novelty, punctuality, for example, IT rules that I have talked to you about. Okay. IR, you understand? Corporate ethics, for example, some case studies will be related to gender. Because I am telling you these types of case studies, you should be preparing what UPSC has asked you. Okay. Gender related case studies. Gender discrimination could be a problem over there. Okay. Now, these type of classification you will find many more. No problem into it. How you should be classifying these case studies particularly, and this domain into the part B is important because certain case study types are dilemma based case studies. Dilemma based, resolving ethical dilemma. We will talk about it in detail. This is one type that you should master for writing case studies. Dilemma, resolving dilemma. Dilemma is not a conflict between right and wrong. Dilemma is a conflict between two rights. The two values, both of them are right. And then you have to resolve and reach to a particular conclusion. Of course, because both of them are right, therefore something is at the stake, something is at the altar, some demerit would be there in your action. But again, you are choosing the particular value. We will talk about it. Okay, we'll talk about it. Dilemma based case studies. Then there are specifically certain case studies, 2 to 3 case studies are designed for persuasion. We will talk about them also, what is persuasion and how it is extremely important for your part B case studies. This is not simple persuasion that you are persuading your friend, let's make a trip to Goa. Don't know what is happening. Let's make a trip to Goa. This is not that persuasion. Rather, it is a persuasion, technical persuasion. Certain technical elements will be used in these kind of persuasion based case studies. Then they are interested into procedural aspect. They are interested into procedural aspect. Now understand what is procedural aspect. These three things I want you to write down. This you will find at all the places. Okay, procedural aspect. Procedure of justice. Procedure of course of action. Students, understand that you would have in your 10th class found a situation that some students were brilliant. All of you have passed 10th class for sure. Some students were very brilliant and they would solve a particular mathematical problem and give a direct answer to the question. And will give a direct answer to the question that, okay, the problem of solution of this function is equal to 2.5. They will not delve into resolving how they have come to the answer. Then the teacher would have said, my dear student, don't write the answer. We understand that you are very brilliant in the mathematics, but we are interested into the process. We are interested into the process. The marks are there on the steps. The marks are there on the steps. You need to mention the steps, how you have come to the particular answer. So students sometimes while reading the case studies, they find that this should be done. Final decision making they do. Final decision making they do. From case, a particular case to decision making. There lies a lot of procedure. What went through your mind? What are the values that you evaluated? This procedure is very important. Here, what ethical reasoning you are doing, it is very important. I don't know today what is happening. This ethical reasoning is very important. Let's take an example and understand it. For example, in our class today, okay, what is happening here? Okay, Harsh and Sagar. Harsh and Sagar. Let's take example for Harsh and Sagar. Now we understand a situation I am giving you, that Harsh seemed to be a very serious aspirant and he got selected and became IAS. And he was a very upright IAS officer. He followed all the norms, all the legalities, never indulged into any malpractices or corruption. And post retirement, he became the chairman of UPSC. Chairman of UPSC. Okay, he was rewarded for his honesty and uprightness and he became the chairman of UPSC. Then throughout his life, he was very honest. Later on, from his own village, Sagar is going to appear into the interview in the personality test along with many more students. Sagar is going to appear in the personality test, that too in the board of Harsh. Now, Harsh gets a call from the Sagar's parents. His parents are relative of Harsh. His parents say that, my dear friend Harsh, my son has done very well into the prelims and mains examination, and just like you, he also wants to serve the country in the most upright manner, and he is going to appear into your board. So please do take care of him. You understand the meaning of it? The hidden meaning of it? Please do take care of him. Now, for Harsh, you are Harsh in the present given situation. What action will you take? Will you give benefit to him? Now understand why I am talking about the procedure. What will you do in the situation of Harsh? There are different aspects available to you. As Harsh, one thing you can decide that, no, I will not give any concession or any extra marks to to Sagar, because that will be an injustice to other candidates. These are the other candidates. That will be an injustice to the other candidates. I will never give him extra marks for that matter. This should be the objective. We are done. Now let's make this case study little bit tougher. How UPSC is going to ask you. Now you understand that in the case study, we are twisting it little bit. It is also given in the question itself that Harsh is the best candidate. Harsh is the best candidate among all the peer group. These are the students that are going to appear into the board of Harsh, and Sagar is the best candidate. It is mentioned. He is very brilliant and he is the best candidate to appear. Now the justice will be done. If Harsh is going to give extra marks to Sagar, then the justice will be done or not. Sagar getting best marks. Tell me yes or no. Okay. Okay. Okay, Rohan. Then the justice will be done. What about others? Yes, if he is the best merit, he should be recognized by the board. Now understand, students, these are the process lines. You cannot miss on these process lines. But one point is missing. Yes, here I can say that justice has been done. You have to write it. Justice has been done. No doubt about it that justice has been done. Justice has been served, because it is mentioned in the question paper itself that he was the best person. But then you have to understand one more aspect, that in India, problem is not about just the justice being done, but about the perception of justice. What we have not achieved yet is perception of justice. Perception of justice. These candidates are thinking that okay, Sagar got the highest marks just because, not on his merit, despite that it was on the merit of the Sagar, but the other peer group would definitely think that Sagar got extra marks because Harsh was somewhere a relative. You get the point? Therefore, there is a perceived injustice despite serving the justice. That you need to mention. There is perceived injustice among the other candidates. Therefore, the best possible option for that matter is to recuse. R-E-C-U-S-E. Recuse from the position. That Harsh will appoint, for example, Harsh will appoint Bhavesh, the independent chairman, and he will say to the relatives that I am not going to chair the particular board, and the board will be chaired by Bhavesh. And as per the merit, because already Sagar was the best candidate, then best marks would be given to the Sagar. And then justice will also be served, and perception of justice will also be served to the people. This kind of writing should be there. This is called, the procedure should be elaborated. This should be your approach while writing the answers. Everyone understood this? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. So let's move ahead. Structure. Let's come to the point. So we have discussed why case studies and what should be the approach for the case studies. What are the different types of case studies particularly asked by the UPSC. Now about the structure of case studies. First, don't get into the rote learning method. Try to understand why the structure is like that also. Why the structure needs to be like that also. First thing is, we should mention context. Context of any particular case study. Context is a must thing. See, context is about giving that the domain that I have talked to you about, situational awareness. By reading the context itself, sometimes examiner gets to know that how much gravely you have understood the particular problem, but just by writing the context. Second thing, stakeholders. Third thing is values at stake. Fourth thing, ethical dilemmas involved. Different types of ethical dilemmas involved. Now, here about stakeholders, let me tell you one thing, that We will take these topics in detail. I will be taking proper making you properly understand what are the stakeholders. We'll write a case study, understand how stakeholders needs to be mentioned, different methods to write stakeholders. But sometimes students ask me a particular question that, sir, in the question stakeholders were not asked. Stakeholders were not asked. Should I write it or not? I will tell you different methods in the questions where it is asked, where it is not asked, but try to understand why stakeholders we are talking about. Right now, let's understand the present circumstances. We are having a live class. If any ethical issue happens right now, if any ethical issue happens right now here, whether it will be happening with me from my side, or whether it will be happening from the end of a particular student, or on the platform of Shunya, or on the platform of YouTube, or on the platform of Google Meet. These are the stakeholders of a particular ethical issue involved. Whatever problem we are facing, we might face, for that some other person, thus the CM of a particular Karnataka state will not be responsible for it. Therefore, we need to mention the stakeholders. Any ethical problem is not in the vacuum. It is related to the persons involved into it, and how much the particular person or group of person is having influence into that particular case study, that we need to measure. That's how we will prioritize in resolving the solution, that we will understand while dealing with stakeholders. Values at stake, sometimes you need to write about it. Many times directly it has been asked. Sometimes you need to understand that, yes, what are the values at stake? If I'm not going to proceed through such evidence based action, what value I'm putting at the risk, that you need to understand. Sometimes societal values, sometimes national values, sometimes bureaucratic values, sometimes personal values, sometimes professional values. Different values can be at the stake. That, see, by recognizing them, you are following that procedure that I have told you, that you need to mention each thing step by step. In your part A, many times question has been asked, law versus ethics. If ethics has a wider domain, law is just a subset of it. That you need to understand how both of them are complementing each other, how ethics is helping in evolution of laws, and how law is helping in implementation of the ethics, societal ethics at the grassroots level. That things you should understand while writing the values at the stake. Ethical dilemmas involved. This is extremely important topic for case studies. We will deal with it in detail. We'll talk about the prisoner's dilemma as well. Different types of dilemmas. It's a technical word for ethics. We will understand about it. Then comes, what are the options available to you? What are the options? See, here also again situational awareness comes into the picture. Into a given situation, you might have different options. A case study presents, understand that, options available to you. In this situational awareness, I am talking about geography also. For example, you are posted into a terrain that is very much hilly. There the solution will be different. You are posted into valley, there the solution will be different. You are posted into plains, there the solution will be different. Society, for example, you are posted into tribal land, there you should have an understanding about the society, tribal society also. Then your solution will be different. Options available to you will change. Getting my point? Therefore, your options will be limited by the situation, scenario given over there. Sometimes it is mentioned to make you timid, weak, and vulnerable yourself, that you are the only breadwinner of your family and you don't want to lose your job. What are the options available to you? Will you report any complaint against your superiors? Will you take action against them or not? So, into those constraints, basically, these situations will provide you constraints. Into these constraints, you have to draw certain options. And based on these options, understand why we are writing options. Without jumping on a particular method, that what will be my course of action, first let me understand and admire, let me recognize what are the different actions I can take. And basically, intuitively, what you are drawing also, that options available to you, you are also drawing that what could be the consequences. What could be the consequences? Intuitively, you are understanding these consequences. By consequences, what are the positives that can happen, what are the negatives that can happen to you, that you are evaluating, that you are weighing. Get my point? You are understanding the constraints and then basically you are evaluating your consequences. Then comes your course of action. Course of action. Now these are the concrete steps that you are going to take. Sometimes here into this course of action, what are the options available to here? They are asking the positives. Sometimes UPSC directly asks that what are the merits and what are the demerits. That thing you can mention. Sometimes they are asked, then we can evaluate and mention, but sometimes they are not asked directly. Then course of action are the concrete steps. And understand one more thing about the course of action. There should sometimes students write, I will do this, then I will do this. If that doesn't happen, I will do this. Now course of action, if you think really, if you go to a particular case and then you think what course of action exactly I'll be taking. Certain course of actions, this we will discuss in detail also, but course of action. Sometimes in particular situations, simultaneously you need to take 5 actions. Simultaneously you will be taking these 5 actions. Then you need to mention that these 5 actions I will take simultaneously. After that I will take follow-up. This is how we work. But while writing the answers, we don't write like that. Basically you take certain action and then you follow up on different fronts, you follow up. Then you will follow up. And after that you will, if particular evidence does not come up, then you will follow up again. You understand that sometimes this course of action helps in coming conclusion to this course of action. We will deal with the particular case studies in that matter also. Yes. Ethical dilemma is different from Vishal. Ethical dilemma is totally different from options available. In a particular situation, what will you do? See, options available means, for example, the case of Harsh that we discussed right now today itself. Now, the dilemma for Harsh was that whether I should be benefiting my relative. That could be one thing, one good thing, my relatives would be happy about it. Okay, I have given a favor to my kith and kin. Another dilemma was following my personal integrity, my personal values. That was a dilemma. To resolve that dilemma, we want to find options. Options means actionable ideas. Actionable ideas. What should I be doing? These are the options. That 1, 2, 3 that we have written. One option was that he could definitely give him certain benefits. One option was that, yes, let me follow that. Another option was, no, I will not do that. Third option was that he could recuse from his position. So these are the options available. Then based on that, we will write the course of action. Got it, Vishal? Okay. So you understood the structure part. Into this structure, one more most important thing is 7th point, that is reflection. As a bureaucrat, you are not expected that you will just, your attitude will be reflected. What I said to you, saying and showing. While writing this case study, you have shown that how much ethical you are, how much ethical competency do you have to solve a particular case. Reflection is about when you write. For example, there could be a case study of child marriage. You went to a particular scenario and you found that child marriage is happening over there. You would have taken certain steps and would have resolved the matter and then came back to your home. You will find yourself very happy that yes, I did something good for the society, good for the girl, good for the groom. But sir, ma'am, for becoming a bureaucrat, it is being expected that you will create an impact on the larger society. That is called the true spirit of public service, not on a particular individual. And for that matter, whenever you are resolving a particular kind of case studies, you should reflect more on such problems at India level, at international level, at different societies. For example, child marriage is not a problem in a particular home, but of a community level. Many states are suffering from it. Therefore, what larger step can be taken? Then you will be appreciated that yes, you have a vision. Visionary reflection should be given by you at the end, which you may call as conclusion sometimes also. Okay, that reflection will give you extra marks, extra edge. Basically, extra marks, extra edge. Why it will be giving you? Not because I am saying it, but because it will reflect your more empathy towards society. It will reflect your visionary personality in resolving more such cases at the larger scale. And if you have solved a particular case, you have dealt with a particular problem, you have found good steps to resolve a particular problem, and then if you could replicate this good practice to other parts also to resolve that problem, then you are a person by bringing whom into the bureaucracy will create a larger impact into the society. Because of that, you will be rewarded more. Okay, so let's move ahead. Structure part, basically you have understood in detail. We will be understanding them. These structures we will be understanding in detail. Okay. So here structure part also from different angle. Let's see. Ethical decision making model. These are certain words that you can understand. These PPTs definitely will get, no need to worry about it. For example, what dilemma or problem, situation or question are you facing? First of all, ask precisely. And my suggestion to students is that while writing the case studies, because we are having a very different approach for the case studies, we won't be just mugging up certain things and writing it down. And after that, many students come to me and say that, sir, I am exhausted of these arguments. I have written it so many times in the question paper. Our objective, try to think. I believe that what Descartes said, that I think therefore I am. You all are thinking being, that's why you are here. You are preparing for the examination. And find yourself capable enough. Find yourself in the beginning curious enough to decode certain options. You can do it. The thing is that you should be doing it in the right direction. So in the beginning, I will suggest you that take UPSC questions only. Don't go with other questions. Take UPSC questions, and with those questions, try to write down, try to think, write down different aspects of the answer, and then develop it more. In the beginning, go little bit slow also. Give yourself time to think. Later on, after the practice, you will get a knack of it. Okay. What dilemma or problem situation you are facing, how you frame the question may affect the answer. You get this point. How you are going to frame that question. For example, if I tell you, give you an example. This is a classic case of what APJ Abdul Kalam says. Okay, the person who is doing a boot polish, the person who is doing a child labor, we can say that 8-year, 9-year-old child is going and doing boot polish. If you have seen that there is a group of kids who are asking you that, sir or ma'am, can I do the boot polish? Then you followed these people, these kids, and you find that there is one leader who is already 25 years old, and he is asking these kids, he is regulating that whole business. What will you do? What will you do in that situation? Now, how you are going to frame the question? See, this particular situation is open to all of you, will be open to all the candidates who are writing the examination. But what action you are going to take will depend on what question, what moral dilemma you perceived from it. Getting the point? One moral dilemma that could be there is child labor is wrong. Child labor is wrong. So what will you do? One aspect you can write in the examination is about child labor. Understand this, how you frame the question. Child labor is wrong. Even legal action can be taken against that person. Another aspect is you will put the children to school. This is their schooling age. You will put them to school. Second option, you can write that legal action. Apart from that, any other action, third action, sometimes pursuing their parents, talking to their parents could be a solution. Understand few things, that how you frame the question will give you different results for resolving the dilemma. Understand that how compassionate you are towards the society. These are the solutions because a crime has been committed. You cannot leave that thing. This is an aspect that a crime has been committed, therefore punishment must be given. You cannot deny that. Now there will be a tussle that you should, whether you should send the particular children to school or not. APJ Kalam says that, APJ Kalam says that I will provide the particular, I will ask the particular child that what are the conditions that have motivated you for that particular work. If it is the necessity of the time, for example, there are COVID orphans. There are COVID of orphans, those who are not getting even a place in the slums also. And if the particular kid is earning a bread for himself, then what is wrong into it? Rather, Kalam says that, it was an article already, he said that I will provide him with the best equipments to do the better boot polish. Who knows that today he could be a founder of such company just like Louis Vuitton or Gucci? Who knows that? If the child is interested in doing particular work, you have to ask that child. If for example, this could also be a skill, boot polishing or leather working industry. If the child is interested into that, then yes, I will provide in that situation the best gadgets for the boot polish. Getting my point? So this is the different ways you have to give the answer. Consider the ethical aspects carefully. Different ethical aspects, different ethics are involved. Here, in this particular case, we have understood the ethics of legality. No one is above the law. Rule of law must be upheld, must be upheld. Therefore, ethics of legality. Here we are following the ethics of passion or the ethics of necessity. It is necessary for his survival. Schooling, education is important. Different ethics are involved in resolving this ethical dilemma. Consult appropriately to broaden your perspective. While writing these case studies, you will find that you will consult different authorities. You might consult certain NGOs who are experts into that domain. You might consider certain Gram Panchayat heads who know about their village properly. Therefore, consultation, wider consultation reflects your ability to accept different kinds of advices. And based on that awareness, you are going to take certain actions, course of actions. Gather information to help you make a decision. Gathering different kinds of information. Keep an open mind. See, these are the small things, very small things when I'm telling you. Keep an open mind. From the childhood itself, many people would have said to you that keep an open mind. But it should be reflected in your case studies. You should not be rigid about yourself. How it is reflected in your case study, write down at some place wherever you are taking the notes. Open mind. It means that, see, what UPSC is doing with you, I'm coming to this point of open mind. We are going with prepared creativity. We have prepared so much of terminology, so much better examples, sentences, ethical principles to write throughout the examination. Now the paper is designed in such a manner that after writing essay, GS1, GS2, GS3, you are very much exhausted. And after that, they want you to write GS4. UPSC could have put GS4 as the GS1, paper number 1 also. Why they are doing so? Because they want that under such pressure, tremendous pressure, when you are totally exhausted, they want you to think and write this case studies. Now there it becomes very difficult to have that open mind. We are rigid by what we have crammed, what we have prepared. We are limited by our preparation itself sometimes. Therefore, because of that, what happens while reading the cases, I have seen, I met few students who have written yesterday the mains itself. They ignored few keywords in the question. The ability that you should develop for your perspective, I am telling you, is read each word very carefully. For example, there is going to be a mob lynching or communal clash is going to happen. And there a small sentence is given that this area has a history of communal clash. Don't ignore that sentence. You understand that. What problem students are facing is they will resolve the particular case study. Why you have ignored that societal aspect? You have to link it to that societal aspect, that why this particular area is having the communal history over there. This is about becoming open minded, getting to know all the aspects. For that, from your perspective, you can do is not ignoring any given keyword in the examination. You should not ignore any given keyword. Don't think that this is just an extra matter. Okay, sometimes students find that these are the problems that I have recognized after reading the question, and these are certain extra material given in the question, but they don't have any relevance. This is the problem. In one way, you are reflecting your rigidity. You're getting the point. So be open-minded while resolving the cases. Ask open questions. Ask open questions. Sometimes you can definitely admit that to solve the particular case, I need to have that kind of information. Distinguishing facts from assumptions. Distinguishing facts from assumptions. Let us talk about something more. Note down these points: facts, assumptions, opinions, arguments. Facts are non-changeable. You cannot change. This is called as fact, matter of the fact, what we say. Okay, these are non-changeable things, whereas assumption is assuming something that this might have happened. This will create, assumptions will create biasness, stereotypes. Facts will give you evidences, concrete decision making. Now understand opinions. These are the words you must understand. Opinions. My dear students, nobody is interested in your or my opinion. Very frankly, UPSC is not at all interested in your opinion or my opinion. Opinion is a kind of perspective that we build. Because of our own grooming, we can have different opinions. We can differ. There is nothing wrong in having different opinions. But for the sake of writing ethics case studies, understand that our opinion does not matter at all. Okay. What matters is arguments. Opinion are the perspectives. But what matters in the examination are arguments. These arguments are extremely important. Why these arguments? Because these arguments are based on certain ethical principle. Or any rational principle. Ethical principle or rational principle. We need to focus on the arguments part, not on the opinion part. In the examination, while writing your each sentence should reflect arguments, that this is an argument. We will discuss about it, don't worry, but at least write down this so that you can differentiate between what I am saying, that what is a fact, what is an assumption, what is an opinion, what is an argument. Okay, because these are the language of ethics. This is the language of ethics. Let's move ahead. Determine possible solutions, then ask yourself the following about each one. When you determine basically options available to you, after that you just put down different options available to you, then how will it affect each of our stakeholders? If I am going to take a particular action, how is it going to affect different stakeholders involved? Is it in accordance with the different policies, personal laws, personal values, professional values? Is it in accordance with it or not? And a very personal question, that will you be proud of or not? Like one student has written some time back that I will feel personal guilt. Your guilt does not make you proud. You can write that in the examination. I'll feel guilty of it. Okay. So will you be proud of your action or not? Sometimes because of the law, if even if you have taken a right step, you might get punished. But then also you feel proud that yes, I have taken the right decision, ethically correct decision. Sometimes ethics and laws may come in conflict also, but in this particular paper you have to uphold ethical principles. There is a word called as constitutional morality. Constitutional morality, that you have to abide by the values enshrined in the constitution, that is, you have to uphold the fraternity. But all of a sudden, on one way you have to abide by the values of constitutional morality as a bureaucrat, on the other hand you are also bound by the value of following the orders of your superiors. Now your superior has ordered you a particular action which is in conflict with the constitutional morality. Now which one will you take? You are getting the point? If you are following constitutional morality and not obeying the orders of your senior, some legal action might be taken against you, but you will be proud of it. Understood the situation? But if you are following the senior's orders without obeying constitutional morality, you might not get a very sound sleep in the night. You will understand that something wrong has been committed. I did not upheld the value of constitution. So will you be proud of it or not? Am I comfortable with the solution? If not, discard it. Are you comfortable, or you are under certain strain, you are under certain pressure taking that decision? If you are, see, you are comfortable only with the situations that you have evaluated very well, that you have realized rationally that yes, this could be the possible outcome of this situation. Should I check with my manager or subject matter expert? SMEs, subject matter expert reference is required certain times. Feasibility of the solution, whatever solution you are presenting, is feasible also or not, or it is just on the idea level that you are presenting this as a solution. Which solution is best, different among different solutions, which solution is best, that you will take as course of action number 1, that this solution seems to be the best. One solution could be I will not take any action. It could be there in your mind, why should I be taking action? But is it the best solution? No. Make a decision and prepare to implement by considering what challenges might I face, how can I overcome these challenges, who can help me implement wisely. So these are the pointers that I am giving you to build your structure, because you will not get struck sometimes. You can have it, and then you can with different case studies you can build your perspectives with the help of these pointers, that okay, what challenges might I face. Okay, some things are not hunky dory. Okay, things sometimes would be slippery slope also, you don't understand where to tilt. And then what would be the challenges, the different aspects, and how I can overcome these challenges. Sometimes your personal morality will give you an effort, sometimes you can have a good collaboration and persuasion of your senior members. One way is you will not obey the orders of your senior, another way is you will persuade your senior that whatever orders sir or ma'am you are giving is against the constitutional morality, please try to understand my point also. You are getting this aspect, how you can overcome these challenges. This should be reflected in your personality into the case studies. Students, understand why case study becomes very important. In the part A of the paper, ethics paper, most of the students are giving same theories, same examples you are writing. Most of the students. A lot of differentiation you cannot get. Therefore, the average marks remains for the whole lot of students 90 to 100. Here, what happens that here into the case study, the differentiation in your marks, 30 to 40 marks differences you will find. And this is the last part. Therefore, case studies are mentioned in the last also. So here you can score. It is just like mathematical principles. If you will follow the order, you will get the marks. If you will elaborate in the proper ethical reasoning, you will present. Reasoning I will talk to you. I will give you example how to present that ethical reasoning as well. Okay. Implement then task. Implementation is also important. Many times into the course of action, students says, I will do that, I will do this, I will do that. So you are just saying that I will do it. Do it. After doing this, I will ensure that. After the way of writing will say that actually in your mind, are you doing it or you just want to dictate that I will do that? Where lessons learned and applied. Be open to feedback and follow up as necessary. Be open to feedback and follow up as necessary. Follow up is extremely important. In day to day life, we are doing that. Follow up is important. Now, let's talk about ethical competency. Ethical competency. Ethical competency means you can write down certain words about ethical competency. It is about moral reasoning. Moral reasoning. Ethical competency will help you in resolving ethical dilemmas. Resolving ethical dilemmas. Okay. It provides you moral turpitude. Okay. Now, first let's understand in layman terms. Then we will take a particular case. Layman terms. So if I ask you, if any of your friends, right now we are having a class, any of your friend, if asked you that at 7 p.m. the movie is there, will you come up with me? Will you come up with me? Then what will you say to that friend? No, I have a class. See, moral reasoning. You have a rational logic that yes, I have a class to attend, therefore I will not go to the particular movie. If any other day a person asks you, will you go to a movie, a very good movie is there into the theaters, then you will say, today my mood is not there. You understand? My mood. I don't feel like watching a movie. Or somebody would say that I don't like the particular actor in the movie. Or somebody would say that today it is raining heavily outside. How we will go and watch a movie? So other things were opinions, that I don't like that actor, how the climate is there, okay, or you have a mood or not. These things are don't come in the domain of moral reasoning. They are not logically formidable. Therefore, therefore, we need to stick to the facts. We need to stick to the arguments in any particular case studies. So I want all of you to participate into this case study. This case study was there in 2016, I think, UPSC paper 2016. Okay. Dhanshri, you are there? Dhanshri. Okay. So Dhanshri, she just just a second. Hmm. Okay. So what has happened that she is again a very good candidate and she was selected into UPSC and she became SDM. Okay. Dhanshri became SDM. Now she was posted, she was given a charge that you will distribute food. You will distribute food in a disaster hit area. In a disaster hit area. You will distribute food in a disaster hit area district. Disaster hit district. Under NFSA Act. National Food Security Act. Food distribution, and under this it was also said that all the persons who have their Aadhaar card, you understand that Aadhaar card is necessary right now, even the Supreme Court ruling has come for obtaining any government benefits. Government can ask you for mandatory Aadhaar card. Those persons who are presenting Aadhaar card, they can collect food, and it is your responsibility to distribute these food to those persons. Clear this case study to everyone? Now the situation begins that there is a whole queue. Okay, so many people are there, so many people are there, and all of a sudden, here she is, and one very old lady, old destitute, old destitute widow, in her octogenarian, 60 plus age, you can years of age, senior citizen, she is there. She comes to Dhanshri and she says that, ma'am, please give me 5 kg of rice that I will cook. I am very, very hungry. She is an old destitute widow, and this is a disaster hit district. Now, tell me in the comment box what all of you think that whether, and then after that, Dhanshri asked that, ma'am, where is your Aadhaar card? Please provide me with your Aadhaar card. The old lady says that, beta, what is this? What is this Aadhaar card? I am very hungry. Give me food. I don't know such kind of thing, Aadhaar or non-Aadhaar. Give me food. I don't have Aadhaar card. Now, if you are Dhanshri, what will you do? Will you give food to that old lady or not? Tell me in the chat box. Okay, Wagmare says no, I will not give food. Arun says yes. Tell me in the chat box, every one of you. Okay. Pratik, definitely give food. Sagar, considering it a special case, allow her to get food. Constitutional right to food, fundamental right. Yes, I will give food life. Yes, exceptional times need exceptional measures, so Aadhaar requirement can be sidelined from own side and help in. Acha, Jay, you will help. Okay, because it is special case. Ask for another identity card, Abhishek. Good try. Give the food and also make sure the availability of Aadhaar card, not under this scheme but under Antyodaya Yojana or something else. Okay, Mrityunjay, nice try. Give her from my expenditure as per regulation. No. As it is disaster hit, I will give food. Okay, now listen. First of all, understand that you cannot give food from your own expenses. Agar if possible negative marking would have been there, you would be negatively marked for that matter. Understand, why don't you understand few things? That you are there not in the capacity of a normal citizen. You are there in the capacity of SDM, Superintendent of District Magistrate. You have certain public, understand the concept of public duty. This is you are here being asked to discharge your public duty, not your personal choice, not your personal duty over here. In the capacity of SDM, you are discharging this services, you are providing the food. Not from your personal expense you can give food. For that matter, you don't need to become SDM, you can become a billionaire, then you can distribute the food as and when you want. But here you are in the capacity of a public servant. So never write that from my personal pocket I will give that money. From your personal pocket you do any amount of charity, but not in this situation. This is a situation of authority. I will talk about authority also, authority and power. Now how you should be writing it? Because most of the students, some of you said no, some of you said yes. I do understand. Please understand this ethical competency. What is your competency in elaborating the problem and writing that problem? One would say that, no, I will not give food. Now tell me why you will not give food. why you will not give food? What is the reason behind it? I have told you that without arguments, I will not take up any options from you. That should be an argumentative. One aspect could be it will breach rule of law. It will breach rule of law. That law says that it is law basically. NFSA is a law. That it will breach rule of law, therefore I will not give. Another argument that why you will not give, because of your emotions. You are feeling that if I have told you instead of old destitute widow 60 years plus, I have told you a 35-year old a proper working man is there without Aadhaar card, then you would have said that no, I will not give him, definitely I will not give him, and he is fit and fine. Point is that you are involving certain emotions. You will not give any ration to the old lady because you don't want interference of emotions by following the Weberian model of bureaucracy. Weberian model of bureaucracy, which says that the bureaucracy should believe to be wooden, that our emotions should not obfuscate or sound judgments. We should not be emotional in making the judgments. Just countering this Weberian model of bureaucracy, Daniel Goleman gave different 5 principles of emotional intelligence, that emotions cannot be separated from the human beings, otherwise man will become cog in the wheel. And rather, emotions help individuals take better decisions. That is another aspect. Part A you would have definitely read into emotional intelligence. So Weberian model of bureaucracy does say that one should not become emotional while discharging public duty. Therefore, you have decided that no, I will not give ration to that woman. So these are the ethical principles involved, making you take a particular decision, not on your whims and fancies or how you are feeling, what is your mood. Another aspect is, yes, I will give. Point is how you will give, on the basis of what principle you are thinking to give. Here you are saying that rule of law. Then second aspect is, any law is made for what? For the service of people, to give them the greater good. You will write that I need to uphold not only the rule of law, I need to uphold a particular law in the letter and spirit. I need to uphold also the role of law. The role of law is to serve such people, such vulnerable people. Therefore, you need to provide food to that woman. Role of law is important. Second aspect is, here you have talked about Weberian model of bureaucracy. Then you can talk about Mill. Bentham also you can talk about. Mill. Mill says that, he is a thinker. Mill says that discrimination has to be done in the favor of disadvantaged. Discrimination has to be done in the favor of disadvantaged. You can talk about fundamental right, article 14. There also discrimination we do, affirmative discrimination, positive discrimination, to give effect for the welfare of vulnerable section. Reservation system is a kind of discrimination, positive discrimination. Reservation for women that we want in the parliament is a positive discrimination. Therefore, discrimination we are doing, see, you have not understood one more value that was at the stake, is because if you are giving a particular woman a different kind of benefit, that yes, without Aadhaar card also I will be providing food to you, therefore you are discriminating between this individual and this individual. So you are somewhere bypassing the principle of equality also. That is also a rule of law, principle of equality. Therefore you will justify that yes, in this scenario I should give. Now you have done an ethical competency. This kind of moral reasoning is required from you while putting your objectives. That no, understand that some students are rigid about no, some students are very much rigid about yes. But what is expected from you is that what makes a yes, what makes a no, what are the background arguments behind it. For that you will be rewarded marks. This is what I call process. This is what I call steps. On these steps marks will be rewarded to you. It is ineffective that whether you did not give the women rice or food, or whether you gave her, but have you done this moral exercise in your mind, and that should be reflected in your copies in the ethics paper. Understood, everyone? So give me a thumbs up if you understood. Okay. Okay. So here also case is not totally solved. These are the options available to me on the basis of yes and on the basis of no. What will be my action? Actually, what will be my course of action as Dhanushree? What I'll be doing is that I will ensure that yes, ration should be given to the women. Ration should be given to the women. Ration should be given to women. Now understand the dichotomy that on one hand you have to abide the rule of law without breaching the rule of law. You are getting the point? You have to abide the rule of law without breaching the rule of law. For that matter, course of action will be, you will prepare a register. You will prepare a register in which you will ask the senior most people of that village, of that particular district or Gram Sabha head, and will take a voluntary recognition that yes, this particular woman belongs to that village. And into that register you will note her name, her address. You can take her thumb impression or signature for that matter. And because it is a disaster hit district, you might not understand that 1 month, 2 month, how much time will the district will take to recover from that scenario. Then you will ensure that later on they will get their Aadhaar card made. Aadhaar card made. Therefore you will also follow rule of law later on. Now understand, spirit of public service that I was talking to you, that you do not need to say it, you have to show it. This is the time to show it. Now you have solved, understand that, you have solved a particular case of one woman. Particular case of one woman. Are you happy? This, how much visionary you are. Now you understand the grave situation that many more such people will be there into that village, who require such food benefits, food coupons, without showing their Aadhaar card, because into that disaster hit district you don't know whether they have kept it or not. Then you will not just do that, you will ensure that all other people, rather announcement, you will ensure that there would be an announcement into the district that whether people having, eligible people having Aadhaar card or not can collect food coupons after doing the registration process, and will ensure that later on their Aadhaar cards are made. This is reflecting your empathy into the society. Empathize society by including all other people. By just giving ration directly to the women was not empathy. You got this aspect, how you will completely write the answer down there. This is called as ethical competency. This skill you need to build. This skill will take certain time in you. Dhanshi said, it might not be first time when she asked for ration. Will take look in past entries and ask for such cases in that region, and now that Aadhaar card making process be done by next time. True, that could be done. Yes. Okay. So next is about context. Basically, there are different ways of writing context depending on the situation. Sometimes in the question itself, directly it has been asked as the first question after writing the case itself, that what will be the course of action you are going to take. So into those scenarios, I am giving you different methods. Define the situation objectively. This could be one way of presenting the context, that you have given a particular situation very objectively. Identify loyalties to stakeholders. You can bring the problem into the perspective that because of different loyalties of different individuals or different entities involved, this situation has occurred. Identify values in the context itself. You can talk about the values at the stake. Okay, different values or beliefs that has contributed to certain situation. This situation has arisen because of these values at the conflict. You can also talk about certain principles if needed. Most important thing apart from these things in the context, what I want you to write is, see, in that situation you are defining, like for example, facts you are writing. You might write certain facts. Basically, you will write a problem. What makes a problem a problem? Understand, this is a very important point. What makes a problem a problem? For example, I write gender discrimination and I say that the menace of gender discrimination is there. See, this holds true for the GS2 paper. In the GS2 paper, you can write like that because it is an assumption that while reading the GS paper, the person who is reading your answer is well aware that gender discrimination is wrong. While writing ethics paper, I can even argue with you that gender discrimination is right in many sense. It is not always wrong, gender discrimination. Positive gender discrimination also happens. You get my point? While mentioning a problem, you have to bring the problem in contrast to the virtues, to the right things, to the constitutional principles. For example, if you are presenting the problem of gender discrimination in the context, understand the gravitating point I am telling you. If you are mentioning the problem of gender discrimination, I don't consider it a problem. In the domain of ethics, I don't consider it always a problem. Gender discrimination could be right also. You have to bring this problem in the stark contrast with the values enshrined in the Constitution, and simultaneously in the context, the method of writing should be gender discrimination is in contrast to the Article 14 of the Constitution, goes against the fundamental rights. Therefore, you are basically creating a contrast with the ideal values. That's how you are going to write your context. Samajh mein aaya? You understood it? That I'm again explaining this point, that any problem basically in the common parlance, when we are saying corruption is wrong. You're getting the point? Similarly, that corruption needs to be contradicted with the right values. In the context, you must mention those right values also. You should draw that contradiction, that yes, this is how it is a problem. You just don't need to mention the problem, but you have to show that why this is a problem. That is how context you are going to write. What else you can bring into the context is emotional intelligence in corporate ethics. There could be a question on that matter. Therefore, basically, you are giving a larger picture, recognizing the larger issue. In the context, you have mentioned that, for example, it is mentioned that you are working in a corporate firm or you are the CEO of that firm, such vendor is doing such activities and nepotism is also occurring, pressure of the government is also there, and some of the investors are asking you to take certain action. What will you do in that situation? Therefore, emotional intelligence in corporate offices. Okay, corporate ethics you can say. Infrastructure projects, many of the infrastructure projects related questions are there. You can mention that there are lacunas in infrastructure. You have seen the case studies where the dams have collapsed. Okay, flyovers have collapsed, some people were sleeping under it. Social issues, gender discrimination, many more social issues. Okay, physically disabled people get alienated into the society. These kind of discriminations are there. Child marriage is a social issue. Corruption, this is again an important aspect. Corruption, we will take talk about it. Corruption, what is the real issue behind the corruption? Some students have said that limited corruption I will do. Some students have said that I will take the money of the corruption and will do the charity. Should not be doing corruption at all. That you need to write. Okay, that you need to write. Medical administration, it they might be asking about education, department of education. Why I am telling you that in the context, you need to dekho GS 1 2 3 we are studying different contexts, different subject matters. Health, agriculture, infrastructure. In the economic development, you study infrastructure in detail. Okay, how public private partnerships are happening. There are different problems into those different sectors. International relation ethics. Okay, so education, these departments need you to have certain expertise into these domains also. It is not just, see, ethical issue will there be in a particular situation, so into the context you just not need to mention about that particular ethical issues, but also bring into the perspective which department it is talking about. So let's come to the stakeholders point. Stakeholders, generally what happens that you have seen that stakeholders, how we are mentioning it, stakeholders, that we draw a pentagon like this, or we draw a rectangle like this, and we mention these are the stakeholders. Stakeholders means the entities who are involved into particular case. The entities who are involved into a particular case are called the stakeholders. Why we call them stakeholders? They hold certain stakes into that matter. They hold certain influence. They have certain interest into that particular case. Therefore, they are the stakeholders. For example, if you are living in a society or apartment, okay, any new decision that is going to take place into the apartment, a new function that is going to be organized, a new swimming pool that is going to be constructed, or some building needs to be demolished as ordered by the government or the municipal corporations, then you are a stakeholder. You should be aware about it, what new constructions or what new demolitions are going to take place. You have an interest into it. Therefore, in any case studies, we need to mention these stakeholders. We must mention these stakeholders. See, this is the most prominent method. If in the case study stakeholders are not being asked, you can mention like that. You can just write the stakeholders and you can mention the stakeholders, different names you can give. But stakeholder mapping should be done in a manner that you are actually solving a case study. It is, you are not just writing for the sake of writing, but you want to resolve a particular case. That's why you have mentioned these stakeholders. There could be certain, for example, this best suits with the organization. For example, corporate ethics you can talk about, or you can say if you are working in a gram panchayat, or even if it is about any government department, corporate ethics, government department. Okay, or in panchayati raj institutions you can write about. Internal stakeholders, employees, management, how internal relations are derived upon. Then there are certain connected, these are called connected stakeholders. They are connected. For example, if we are talking about corporate ethics, there could be different vendors that are connected to you. They are not part of your organization, but these are the vendors. Certain casual labors you could have employed. There are certain PR cells or media personals that are reporting different kinds of news for you. Let us take an example from economic development like IL and FS crisis. It was an NBFC, non-banking financial company, which has a very good rating, because internal matters we don't know. Internal stakeholders were there into IL and FS. It was an NBFC. it had a third party rating of AAA also. See, the connected stakeholder had problem here because it was connected to the stakeholders of credit rating agencies, which put it to a very good rating agency, AAA. Therefore, what was happening, that any investor, here investor was also connected. Any investor who is going to invest into Island FS because of its crisis, they would have huge impacts on their pockets. Similarly, you can write about internal, external also. Internal, external, and connected stakeholders. CSR values of different companies, corporate social responsibilities that impact their image, whatever products we are purchasing. If we give a very good review of that product, then the image of company will be better. But if the products are useless and you feel cheated, then the company's image will be tarnished. Central government, local government, you can bring in all the case studies as a stakeholder, larger society at large. Okay, and you yourself must be a stakeholder. Now understand, in such cases what is happening, that you are mostly given a prominent position, like you might be superintendent of police, or you must be CEO of the company. In few case studies you will be make a meek, timid, vulnerable person also, and in that vulnerability what decisions you are going to take place, that is also important. But mostly you will have a position of authority. Into that position, what will be your decision making? For that you can elaborate this upon the stakeholder map. Understood? Even for the agriculture, like how local community is involved into that agriculture, how financial analysts are involved, internal matter, external matter. Just understand in simple words what I have told you: internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, and connected stakeholders. Okay, this is the way you can depict the stakeholders if it is directly asked in the examination. Next method is, see, this is what I want to tell you, that nobody in the UPSC whole ever has been teaching this thing, the method of stakeholders. This is not designed by me also, but I have done research and found that on the government portal itself, that case study on Ganges River Basin. Case study on Ganges River Basin. How government does the case study? Understand this point. On one hand, here you can see, don't get intimidated, the students who have not studied mathematics. On one hand, we have interest, one hand we have influence. How much interested I am in solving the problem. Although I can influence it, but am I interested to solve the problem? So this is called as interest influence matrix. Okay, interest influence matrix. What they did is, for example, this is for the stakeholders interest influence matrix for biodiversity conservation in the Ganges basin. They have understood that low interest, these are the low interest and low influence people, this block. For example, farmers, riparian farmers, municipal bodies, water authorities, because water pollution is rampant over there. They are not interested in solving the problem. They have low interest as well as low influence. Therefore, understand that if as a bureaucrat, if you want to solve the problem, will you catch them? No. You want the people with high interest and high influence. They will help you solve the problem in a better manner. Moreover, the people like these can also solve your problem. High influence, whether they have their much interest or not, but this is the stakeholder group which will help you resolve the problem in a better manner. This group, for example, National Ganga River Basin Authority, it has high interest and high influence. Central government agencies, politicians, for the vote bank politics. You have seen that how Ganga river cleaning has been politicized. It is being presented as a very important step of the government. Why not Yamuna? Why not other rivers also? Although it's a pious river, but still they have a political motive behind it. Therefore they have a very high interest and high influence because they hold to the public purse also. They will release different kinds of schemes and funds through those schemes for the overhauling. Ganga Gram Yojana they have prepared. They can talk to the industries also. Industries lobby through them for the policies. Therefore, politicians have a very high interest and influence also. Similarly, researchers. Many researchers have, because their data, whatever reports they are presenting into the journals, the numbers, the metrics, they influence people. Then they will be printed into newspapers, The Hindu, Indian Express, Dainik Jagran. People will be reading those news items and they will be understanding that why not government is taking such steps. And most of the researchers are sometimes environmentalists also. Therefore they have interest in preserving the river bodies, water bodies, and they can influence through their findings also. International agencies, so much so that in your prelims paper you would have studied that wetland conservation we are talking about, riverbed conservation we are talking about, water bird census we are talking about. These international agencies are curious about preserving the environment. Yes, Harsh, we will share, don't worry, on the Telegram channel. Okay. Then who are the high interest? Which bodies are of high interest? Which entities have high interest but low influence? For example, you will find that fishermen, riverine fishing community, they want that river should be preserved, but they cannot do anything. Okay. Tourism sector, sustainable tourism is important. Okay. So what will happen, that tourism sector depends, thrives on this, but tourism also, small hotels, chain of hotels cannot do any action. It cannot take severe steps for that matter. Wetland users, victims, they have high interest but low influence. So in that manner, if you are going to write your case study, it is definitely going to create an impact on the examiner, that you have analyzed that these are the stakeholders that I need to prioritize for solving that matter. They have very good vested interest and they have influence over the public purse, over the public awareness to resolve particular issue. Just like the example of Swachh Bharat mission, cleanliness is next to godliness. It was understood before that also, but the present Prime Minister revolutionized this idea. Today ODF and ODF plus status are being given. This is the effect that influencer can bring in. High interest, high influence matrix. Another aspect of writing the stakeholder is, the particular stakeholder is primary stakeholders, secondary stakeholders, and tertiary stakeholders. You have to classify the stakeholders, which are primary stakeholders, which are secondary, and which are tertiary stakeholders. First, we will focus on the primary stakeholders. Primary here, now we are not talking about interest or influence, but who are mostly affected by it. Who will, okay, so Waterways Authority, they have their involvement, they will be affected. Tourism sector will be affected. Industries affect them. Primary stakeholders, because pollution is coming directly from these industries. Point discharge systems are there. Effluent discharging is happening. Okay. Wetland users, real estate sector, sand mafia. You have seen the case of Durga Shakti Nagpal, which she fought with sand mafias. So these sectors are the primary stakeholders for conservation of riverbed. Sand miners, riparian farmers, municipal bodies. So these are the primary. You can draw, it's not strictly in that sense, but you have to draw a distinction between primary and secondary. Secondary researchers, okay, they can take certain time, sit back, enjoy, aram se, they will develop certain research and they will give that, okay, we have that finding. Media reporting, sometimes they sensationalize the issue, sometimes they do under-reporting also. NGOs, non-governmental organizations, protected areas. Government departments are tertiary stakeholders. Okay, so government department, they feel that lacuna in taking certain actions because of red tapeism. They work in silos. Sometimes interministerial convergence is not there, that what exact decision should be taken. Therefore, we have entirely a different ministry for water. Okay, So interministerial convergence is not there. Sometimes different ministries are required for that matter. Into the local village, if the for example river is passing through a village, then Ministry of Panchayati Raj institutions has to work with the Ministry of Water also, Jal Shakti, Ministry of Jal Shakti. Okay, NGBRA, National Mission for Clean Ganga, politicians, common uh, interested mass, and religious institutions, because they get lot of funding. See, religious institutions, people by faith are inclined towards rivers, not because of these institutions. They have their faith, and the religious institutions are earning money, therefore they cannot play with the faith of the people also. So whatever devotees are offering might contain certain amount of plastic pollution also, but they do not want to say anything against it, otherwise the things will become costly. So these are the different methods how you are going to present your case study. Hope you got it. So this case study we'll be writing tomorrow, and after writing this case study, you have to in this particular question identify key stakeholders. Only you have to identify the key stakeholders. After understanding whatever notes you have prepared, you revise it. So tomorrow when we will begin the lecture, we will discuss this case study. First of all, I'll give you some time to write this case study about key stakeholders and the various issues associated with them. What are the various issues associated with these? And then we will discuss about the stakeholders. Okay. So any doubt for today's class, you can just message me in the chat box. Every one of you understood how the stakeholders should be written, different methods of writing the stakeholders. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. Yes, Vishal, we have scheduled for offline class also. It will be soon upcoming. Okay. So similarly, what will happen in the upcoming classes, what we will be doing, just like stakeholders. One case study, we have understood the whole stakeholder. Similarly, for the ethical dilemmas, different types of ethical dilemmas, deeply we will study, we will resolve them also. Okay, course of action, options available to you, what should be the reflective conclusion for that matter, and by solving more and more case studies, we'll be approaching that. Thank you, everyone.